Two of the most awesome things in films are animated features and superhero films. Turns out there are plenty of animated films with their very own superhero moments. They range from heroic moments to clever Easter eggs and thematic elements. But these films each have a super heroic moment in all of them. Be sure to click the subscribe button for even more awesome videos from Screen Rant. And before we get started, can you guess the film based off of these emojis? Stay tuned to find out.
Buzz, look, an alien! Where? Ah!
Toy Story. The Toy Story series has had its fair share of heroic moments from its toy ensemble. From rescuing Woody from Al's apartment in the second film to escaping the fiery pit in the third, the gang has had their share of going above and beyond to save each other. But we're gonna go back to the first film and talk about what we think is the most super heroic moment in the whole franchise. While chasing the moving truck, Woody finds himself attacked by Scud, Sid's vicious dog. Buzz is already on the truck and could go home with Andy, but Buzz understands that being a hero isn't simply getting away and coming back alive. So in order to save Woody, Buzz jumps off the truck and attacks Scud, giving Woody a moment to get back into the truck. What makes this moment so superbly heroic is that Buzz was willing to sacrifice himself for his friend. He may not be fighting a supervillain or saving the world, but this moment actually showcases more superhero values than most superheroes today. Naturally, Woody doesn't leave his friend behind, orchestrating an impromptu rescue mission again to save his best friend.
Just get me out of this cupcake, I'll get my medal, and I'll be out of your way.
Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph will be returning to cinemas in 2018 to wreck it all again, but for now, we have the classic first film. Ralph plays an arcade villain whose sole job is to wreck things. Fed up with his life, he decides to embark on hero's duty to stop being the villain and becoming the hero. Wreck-It Ralph actually had a few heroic moments, from Ralph's initial quest to the various rescue missions in the film, to Vanellope becoming a princess. But we're gonna have to go with the heroic finale at the end of the film. Facing bugs, darkness, and the end of their existence, Ralph quite literally muscles up and decides to do something about the situation at hand. He goes to the Mentos volcano and accepts who he is, a villain. But not all villains are bad, and despite being a bad guy, Ralph isn't really a bad guy. Just like what was said during his villain therapy session. Staring at his "you're my hero" charm as he prepares to sacrifice himself gives us too many feels. But thankfully, Ralph makes it through this one and will be returning in the spring of 2018. Mark your calendars. Big Hero 6. Hero is in the title, so you know there's going to be some heroic superhero action in this one. Based on an obscure Marvel property, Big Hero 6 was a smash hit for Disney. It offered lovable characters, great villains, and action, and a lovely story to cap it all off. Plus, Baymax. We love Baymax. During the film's climactic finale, Hero and Baymax end up through a portal to save Abigail and have to race back to the gate before it closes on them. Hero always wanted Baymax to be a superhero, but in the end, Baymax does the most heroic thing he can do by ensuring Hero makes it out, at the cost of his own life. He uses what was left of his superhero costume to propel Hero and Abigail back home while remaining behind, sustaining damage from a debris impact. Despite being a robot, Baymax learns that being a hero is more than just saving the day. It's ensuring those around you have a chance of living, even if that means you can't. Man, that ending was sad. We're not crying, you're crying. Thankfully, Hero is a genius and Baymax does get the chance to rebuild Baymax again thanks to the Hashira code that was left in Bay's gauntlet. The Peanuts Movie. You might be wondering, what on earth does the Peanuts movie have to do with superheroes? This is an adaptation of the beloved 1960s cartoon about a blockhead named Charlie Brown and his struggle in school and with his peers. Joining him on his plight is his beloved beagle Snoopy, who has become something of a cultural icon over the decades. Well, it's Snoopy who is this movie's superhero, in fact. Throughout various portions of the film, Snoopy enters a dreamlike sequence in which he is a brave World War I pilot engaged in harrowing aerial combat. His nemesis, the famous Red Baron. The Germans, however, end up dog-napping Fifi, the dog of Snoopy's dreams. Literally. Snoopy undertakes a brave rescue mission to save Fifi and stop the German attack. The whole sequence may be stuff of fantasy, but they resulted in some of the most visually stunning moments in the film. They also proved that Snoopy will go above and beyond the call of duty and show true heroism, even when the odds are stacked upon him. In the end, Snoopy does end up saving the day and inspires countless other sentient animals to never back down.
Bad guy. Incompetent bad guy. Freeze!
The Incredibles. Where to start with this one? The Incredibles is one of Pixar's most beloved films. It just so happens to be about a family who are all superheroes, complete with their own unique superpowers. So what moment in a film full of moments would be the most superb of them all for this incredible family? We'd have to pick the final showdown towards the end of the movie. Despite coming out in 2004 and being a Pixar animated feature, it definitely would feel at home as a live-action superhero film that we're so used to seeing these days. As awesome as the airplane sequence in the 100-mile dash were, nothing can ultimately compete with The Incredibles and Frozone versus the robot. This is where all the Incredibles family comes together for the first time in order to fight off evil. They combine their powers and their communication skills to not only destroy the robot, but to become a stronger family by the end. The scene gave each Incredible a moment to shine and show off their powers. Plus, we get to see Samuel L. Jackson's Frozone kick some butt while in his super suit.
Where is my super suit?
Thank goodness his wife was able to find that suit in the end. Frozone definitely owed her a dinner after that.
I've got to deal with the KID.
You can talk!
Goo goo gaga.
The Boss Baby. The Boss Baby was definitely a hit film when it came out earlier in 2017. Making use of the current political climate for adults and funny humor and animation for the kids, the film laughed its way to the bank. But this is a film about a talking baby. Where's the superhero connection in this one? Glad you asked. Not all superheroes wear capes after all, and this clever little homage to a classic hero is a treat to behold. In the film, Tim and the Boss Baby himself are on an infiltration mission in order to retrieve a document titled New Puppy. We totally understand the great lengths taken in order when puppies are involved. They find the document presented down a dark corridor. They quickly decide to replace the original file with a copy, lest the trap be sprung. Starting to sound familiar? This was actually a sweet homage to our favorite adventurer ever put to film, Indiana Jones. While Jones may never have superpowers, he does perform amazing feats and fight evil, so we think he gets a pass. The scene is also a clever reimagining of the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Only this time, it's ultimately baby drool that gets our hero Tim in trouble.
Oops. If you don't eat, you'll be weak. If you're weak, you'll be slow. If you're slow, you'll die.
Kubo and the Two Strings. Kubo and the Two Strings is the closest we'll ever get to a good Legend of Zelda movie. The plot follows a young boy as he travels to 3 locations complete with their own bosses to recover an item needed to destroy the ultimate evil. Don't let the comparison throw you off though, Kubo is a fantastic film and was even nominated for Best Animated Picture at the Oscars. Full of adventure, magic, and emotional turmoil, Kubo definitely is a superhero in his own right. In classic superhero fashion, Kubo is orphaned pretty early on in the film. From the get-go, we understand that despite not having his parents around, Kubo is more than resourceful enough to get the mission done. He's also joined by 2 companions who help guide him on his journey. Kubo must fight evil throughout the movie, including some of his family members. He is constantly challenged throughout the entirety of the film, but like a great superhero, he always finds a way to overcome the obstacles put in front of him, whether on his own or with the help of those closest to him. When Kubo finally faces his final adversary, he's become powerful enough to take on evil head-on in an epic climactic battle.
Looks like we found another one, bud.
How to Train Your Dragon 2. How to Train Your Dragon 2 was a huge commercial and critical success. We totally understand why though. The top-notch voice cast, which included Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, Cate Blanchett, America Ferrera, Jonah Hill, and TJ Miller, were all interacting in a world with gorgeously animated dragons. Oh, just a heads up, we're going into spoiler territory here. Towards the end of the film, the hero of the film must reconcile with his dragon Toothless. Toothless was under control by the film's villain and ultimately ended up killing Hiccup's father in the process. Furious and broken, Hiccup abandoned his best friend. Hiccup's superhero moment comes when he not only forgives Toothless, but when both of them team up to kick the tail end of the Bewilderbeast. In a David and Goliath moment that proves that size isn't everything in a final showdown, the tiny Hiccup and Toothless are able to thwart the humongous beast, along with the help of all the other dragons that were enslaved to Drago, the film's villain. By standing together, inspiring others, and trusting each other, the film showcased what it really takes to be a superhero.
You mean nothing to me.
The Lego Batman Movie. What happens when you take one of the coolest toy properties ever and combine it with one of the coolest superheroes ever? Well, you get the hilariously awesome Lego Batman Movie. The film was complete with great throwbacks to the previous Batman films, the DC film universe as a whole, and modern pop culture. So what was the most super moment in a film about the coolest superhero ever?
Super modest about it, thank you.
It's hard to pick with this one, since Lego Batman likes to remind us that everything he does is the most superb thing ever. Whether it's saving the day or watching a movie at home, no one can do it better than Batman, because he's Batman. Batman's most superb moment doesn't come from the opening, which saw him do all the things Batman does tenfold. Instead, it was towards the end when he ended up working with the Joker for the greater good of Gotham. While superheroes are tasked with stopping evil, learning forgiveness, understanding, and compassion is also a huge part of being a hero. If the safety of Gotham was dependent on Batman's cooperation with the Joker, then Batman really had to put the past behind him and move on. They're still enemies, but at that moment, they were frenemies.
Ah, okay. Tomato la pita de la poca. Mopa la triba. Findo le boss.
Minions. Despicable Me 3 is out in theaters finally. There's been a ton of sly, clever references in the Despicable movies thus far. And we're sure to write about all the ones we know about in Despicable Me 3 when the time comes. But what was so superb about the Minions movie in terms of superhero moments? Minions actually had a clever nod to the superhero and comic book fandom in general. While no one was flying with capes or doing any super battles in this film, the Minions did film themselves going to the villain con. The film's antagonist, Scarlet Overkill, finds herself going to the convention to find new henchmen, so naturally, the Minions Bob, Stuart, and Kevin also find themselves at the convention. The villain con actually draws inspiration from the biggest Comic-Con show on the planet, the San Diego Comic-Con, otherwise known as SDCC. It's the premier geek fest that happens once a year, so for all the awesome new comic book and geek news coming out of the entertainment world, SDCC is the place to look out for. The Villain Con, however, showcases the best that the bad guys have to offer. But you can't have a superhero without a villain, so in the end, this mashup works perfectly. That's all for now. What's your favorite superhero moment in animated films? Do you prefer a thematic approach or a straight-up Easter egg-styled reference? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more sweet videos like this one in your playlist. Thanks for watching. And of course, the answer to our emoji question is...